I think one of the big things with depression is the real ability to let go of the anxiety, the stress, the things that cause you to be depressed. I believe in God, and I don't have a doubt in that, but it's, do I believe God? That's been a struggle. I was a pretty happy kid growing up. Didn't really have a lot of, issues or anything, just, like any other kid. And then, it started, the first thing that really happened was when I was about 8 years old. My parents were pregnant with their second child, my brother Justin. With my mother, when her difficulties began, it was actually just me and her out one night for dinner. My father, being a truck driver, just wasn't home. Um, and on the way home, she said that she wasn't feeling well. And as we got home and walked into the door, she just began to massively hemorrhage. As an 8-year-old child, it's kind of a frightening and scary situation, not knowing what to do. Is your mother bleeding to death in front of you? What's going on? From that point, she ended up being in the hospital a month or more. And eventually there was a decision that, that they had to birth my brother. They couldn't wait any longer. And of course, the following morning when I woke up, my father sat me down and told me that he had not survived, that he had passed away. Before that point, I'd never really had any loss. And you're 8 years old, and for time there, didn't know if my mother was going to survive. And then to deal with, him dying, and it was something that was very profound, and, it left an indelible mark on me. Soon after that, my parents, their marriage started going downhill. Finally, they ended up divorcing. The divorce process was long. The custody battle was a couple of years long. I moved back and forth several times. Eventually went with my mom, but it was unfortunately the lesser of two evils at the time too. I started to become, depressed about things. I pulled back from, friends and family and those kind of things. And then once I got out of high school, I moved out on my own. Most of my friends went off to college. I became so isolated and stuff that I decided that I wanted to commit suicide. I had written a letter explaining why, and I had a shotgun at the time and had loaded it, and just kind of was sitting there and contemplating where I was and what I was about to do and that kind of stuff. And it's kind of odd. My grandmother called. My grandmother didn't call much, but I thought the world of my grandmother. One of the most, godly, religious people I knew. She happened to call that day, and it just to see how I was doing, and it just kind of snapped me out of it. I threw away the letter, threw away the ammo, took apart the gun, just said, okay, if it's going to be this rough, then it's going to be this rough, but I need to ride it out. I need, to not just take the easy way out. Through the rest of my 20s into my 30s, I still was very isolated. I was still very quiet. I was still depressed, but I just never got back to that point again. In my middle 30s, I really had gotten to the point where I had broke down and I wanted to do something. I wanted to try to get better, and met with a psychologist. I was diagnosed not only with depression, but social anxiety disorder. And so it was one of those things where she really wanted me to find a place that I could go and be around a lot of people, to find, a place that I could be. And one of the first things I thought of was church. And then a friend of mine, Toby Blatt, had mentioned Atlee. My first time at Atlee, I do remember that Jeff, in his message, had mentioned something about the passage Jeremiah 29:11, which is, one of the few passages I know, and I guess my favorite passage. It's a passage I wear around my neck on a cross, and it's, about prosperity, future, and hope, which is something as someone being depressed, those are the things that you wish for. So it's something that I really hold on to. And it was something that when he mentioned it that day, it was kind of like a lightning bolt kind of thing. It was like a sign, I guess, if you want to say. even though I'm, now, firmly in the church again and, love going, the depression is still something that I struggle with. But the church has been a big help for, you know, trying to fight that and try to get over that. Something else that's really helped has been my photography. A lot of times I take my camera down to the James River and just kind of wander around, taking shots, taking shots of buildings, old industrial stuff, bridges and, train stuff, that kind of thing. It's, I guess, my outlet, my creative outlet. It's just a way to express myself. And it's also kind of soothing, I guess, just to get over, what I'm going through. There's this thing in photography that's called chasing light, or, that's kind of what photography is chasing light. In the Bible, there's also a passage in there where Jesus talks about being the light of the world, that those who follow him shall not walk in darkness, but have the light of life. As a photographer, without light, there is no photograph. And I know in my life, if I want happiness, if I want that light, then I need Christ. I've spoken up and made a decision that something that I wanted to do was to get baptized. I've been baptized as an infant, but it was not like a choice. But bad things began to happen soon after, stating that I really, I wanted to be baptized again. That's something that's really pushed on me too, and pushed on my faith and whether or not, do I want to continue? Do I want to keep going? Or, is it time to step away? Is it time to give up? And then so far I've really fought that, but I don't want to give up. I don't want to walk away from it. And I did it before and it didn't lead me anywhere that I wanted to be. And so, this time I've just been more stubborn and just tried to fight through it.